And right now, we are 2 minutes away from the end of the trading day. Romaine Bostick here with Katie Greifeld, taking you through to that closing bell with the global simulcast. Carol Massar and Tim Stenovec join us in the radio booth. Welcome to our audiences across all of our Bloomberg platforms, including our partnership with YouTube. An eye on the markets, an eye on Washington, and an eye around the world today, Carol.
Yeah, absolutely. Something that you guys, I know, have been breaking down. We, too, as it's crossed the Bloomberg terminal about Hamas saying it has agreed to release all Israeli hostages, both alive and deceased. A statement responding to the U.S. plan to end the ongoing conflict in Gaza. We've seen a firming of the shekel. We've seen oil prices certainly moving off their highs of this session. But, you know, geopolitics have certainly been top of mind for investors, not just this year, but for the last several years.
Hamas, though, also saying that other parts of the president's 20-point plan, this was released on Monday afternoon ahead of the comments from Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and President Trump in Washington, D.C. That plan, quote, require a unified national stance and must be addressed based on relevant international laws and resolutions. So Hamas agreeing to some of these terms outlined in the 20-point plan ahead of this deadline on Sunday.
Well, to that point, Tim, Hamas also added that a peace plan will be discussed within a comprehensive Palestinian framework here. But it is interesting to get these details coming off of that news that we got on Monday. That was the big question. What was the response going to be from Hamas? And at least now we're getting some of these details here.
And of course, the other big story that we are watching outside of Wall Street, but they could have implications, is the government shutdown in Washington. We just learned a little while ago from Bloomberg Government that the House Speaker Mike Johnson has basically designated next week as a district work period, which means that representatives will not return to Washington next week. We are told the Senate Democrats do plan to return. Remember, it's the Senate right now that would have to vote in that bill. But if they were to pass that bill, you would need the House back here to reconcile some of those issues. So a potential for this government shutdown to drag on just a little bit longer. At least for right now, the market kind of shrugging it off. The NASDAQ Composite and NASDAQ 100 are going to end the day in the red. The S&P 500, it's only up, well, less than a point, but as record highs go, as it had a record high today, green on the screen means record high again today. The Dow Jones Industrial Average also closing out the day at a record high. And I want to take a look at the Russell 2000, an 18-point gain on the day, 0.7%. The small caps, led by a lot of those quantum computing stocks, pushing the Russell 2000 back to a record high.
You know, you have those days where you just don't have enough Bloomberg screens, and we have a lot of them. This is one of those days for me as well. All right, back to the big caps. S&P 500, folks. Most names actually in the index, so more of a bullish tone, if you will. 322 names, Katie, higher in the Friday's trade and 179 to the downside.
Similar story if you take a look at the sectors here. What was your big winner on the day actually was healthcare. We know it's been a phenomenal week for that sector as a whole, continuing on this Friday. It's exciting to say that tech was actually down today. For the last several days, of course, on the right of your screen, information technology has been green. That hasn't been the case today, down about 0.3% as a sector. But even still, more winners than losers, and the S&P 500, Carol, just barely finishing in the green.
All right, guys, let's go to some of the individual gainers. U.S. rare earth, ticker USAR, soaring, hit an all-time high in today's session, 24% higher at its best levels of the session, finishing the close with about a 14% gain. This coming after CNBC reported that the company is in close communications with the Trump administration. When asked whether the company would be open to a deal with the U.S. government, we know that the government here in the U.S. has taken stakes in rare earths company MP Materials and miner Lithium Americas. The U.S. Rare Earth CEO Barbara Humpton supporting these government stake deals, according to CNBC. That stock 130% higher here in 2025. About 11% of the float is short. We
just spoke to Barbara Humpton.
She was still at Siemens. This was just a little while ago, a week and a half ago.
Yeah, she just started this week at the new company.
Yeah, so interesting. We'll have to check in with her again. Reddit rallying at its best levels, up 6%, finishing with a gain of more than 3%. Analysts expressing confidence in the company's revenue. As of Thursday's close, though, the stock had shed about 26% since peaking in mid-September, including a tumble earlier this week due to concerns about a drop in OpenAI citations. Now, keep in mind the ALS community, a lot of them coming out. Oppenheimer has an outperform rating, and they say, we believe certain third-party data providers indicating reduced ChatGPT Gemini usage of Reddit data in September is a measurement issue and not reflective of actual user or LLM behavior. So that was Oppenheimer, but a lot of other analysts, similar messages. Rumble, thank you, Tim, for this one, up about 16% in today's session. The video platform and cloud services provider rallying after entering into a strategic partnership with Perplexity to develop a new subscription model, combining the pro features of each platform. I feel like I'm speaking a foreign language. Stock is down about 35% year to date. 20% of the float is short.
Don't worry. It's a big TAM there.
Yeah.
The ARPU.
The ARPU.
There we go.
I love some ARPU. Okay.
All right. Let's get on over to some of the decliners today. I want to start with Palantir. This was the biggest decliner on a percentage basis in the S&P 500, down 7.5%. It actually fell about 8.7% earlier in the session. This following a Reuters report that its battlefield communication system was seriously flawed. Palantir and Anduril came out with a statement after that and said the issues in the report were out of date and inaccurate, and that the systems had already been addressed that didn't do much to change the direction of the trade today, at least when it came to Palantir shares. Reports down 7.5%. Palantir stock down 7.5%. Also, Roblox shares down more than 8% today. Shares fell the most intraday since August, after an analyst at M Science came out and said that U.S. bookings growth has decelerated sharply from recent highs. That said, Corey Barrett expects bookings growth to remain, quote, at or near recent highs in non-core markets, ex-US and Western Europe. And finally, watching shares of casino companies, gaming companies that have a large presence in Macau. Wynn Resorts, Las Vegas Sands, both falling more than 7% today. Citi says national passenger data from China's travel ministry for the first 2 days of Golden Week was weaker than expected. Wynn gets about 51% of its revenue from its Macau operations. Las Vegas Sands gets about 62% of its revenue from Macau.
All right, let's take a quick look at yields here. We actually did see yields actually rise today, second straight day. Of course, this is coming off of what we had seen over the previous days where it had been in the opposite direction. We should point out on a weekly basis, we're still looking at a two-year yield lower than where it was 1 week ago today, 3.573 and change. That's where we stand right now heading into next week, guys.
All right, guys, let's get to some of the interesting stories on our radar. And we talk, obviously ongoing about inflation and where we still continue to see pressures. Well, global meat prices extending a rally to a record on tight beef supply. So global meat prices, as I said, a fresh record in September to the longest run of monthly gains since 2021, Tim.
Yeah, the index tracking meat commodity costs rose 0.7%. Meat was the only main food commodity group tracked to increase in September, also supported by higher sheep meat prices. Got a few issues facing the U.S. right now. We have a smaller number of cattle, actually, but also we import a lot of beef from around the world, specifically from Brazil. But remember those 40% tariffs that the president slapped on Brazil just in the last month or so? That affects the price of that coming in.
I see these pictures of cows and it makes me not want to eat.
You know what you can do, though? I mean, if you're having a little trouble affording meat, you can stretch it out with sauces, guys. I saw this story today that apparently the U.S. has been taken over by sauce. The U.S. condiments category is now at $12 billion. That's a 50% jump from where it was just prior to the pandemic. Basically, everyone likes to put sauce on everything. And by everyone, I mean everyone but me.
You don't like it, sauce?
No. I don't like sauce either. I like, just some salt. That's it.
Yeah.
Salt?
Yeah.
Salt,
Shame
pepper.
on you.
Keep it simple.
It works. It works. I will say, I can't believe that no one said that there's a bull market in beef right now. I feel like that was a really easy joke.
Are you saying we're stupid?
No, I'm just saying it was right there for the taking.
We were letting it, we're letting it go for you.
What kind of sauce
Thank you.
does Carol Massar?
Bernays.
Bernays, okay.
Fancy.
You know what?
I still remember the first time I ever took her out to dinner and she ordered, what was it, the escargot? What was the thing you ordered?
Probably
I don't know.
escargot.
It was something expensive.
You know what?
Snails, that's all I know.
I'm still waiting for the first time Romaine takes me out.
It was like snails and champagne.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't, Tim, do you eat?
I do, yeah.
I walk by your desk every day.
Do you want to know what Tim had for
I've
lunch
never seen
today?
you
It was good. It was
This is
beets
personal.
and tofu.
This is personal.
Well, now
tofu.
everyone
Can I just
knows.
tell you
And now
guys?
you know why I haven't asked you out for dinner.
You want to know if he eats? His
Tell
empty food dish is right here
Guys.
in the studio.
Listen,
His food
every
dish?
day.
because you asked,
What
I'm
is he,
more
a
of a
puppy?
hot sauce person.
Okay.
More of a hot sauce person.
You are?
Yeah, and the trick is you don't need to put them in the refrigerator. It actually tastes better if you keep them out of the refrigerator.
I like hot sauce.
Yeah, so
I didn't know you
maybe a
were.
little Cholula, Valentina.
You
hot
guys
sauce.
can go on hot ones.
Yeah.
Hot sauce in your
that
bag
would be
swag
fun.
there.
That would be fun.
I would make it to like the second wing. That's it.
Crying from your
Yeah,
eyeballs.
I absolutely would be sweating profusely.
gravy.
Yeah. Here's a pro tip. If you ever go to Southeast Asia and they ask you if you want it spicy, say no.
Say no.
You need to stop talking because
I learned that the hard way.
For not wrapping this. All right.
I'm still waiting for Romaine to take me out to dinner.
Don't hold your breath.